Hi, Panther fans. I really don't want to make this video. Alright, so a couple things. I'll talk about a couple of the things with this channel that happened this year. We'll talk about the Panthers, and then at the back end of the video I'll talk about some of the things that we can expect from this channel moving forward over the summer. This year, in terms of this channel, we just hit 7,000 subscribers yesterday, so thank you all for that. It was a battle. It was much in the same way that the Panthers had their ups and downs this year, because I gained so many subscribers over the summer last year because of the dog shorts, and for the 2 days that YouTube was trying to figure out who to send content to. A couple of the shorts got like almost 1 million views. So about a lot of those people, like 500 people, unsubscribed during the hockey season. So there were many days when it was an up and down thing where I'd gain 3 hockey people and lose 4 dog people. But overall, we gained 1,500 subscribers. We just passed 7,000. And I expect more. We'll talk about that at the end. I went into this season with a goal and smashed it, which is good. I wanted to make at least 5. I wanted there to at least be 500 interactions, 500 videos. The final number was just a little bit over 400 videos and 157 live streams since the date that I made the. I think am I counting from Kachuk? I'm either counting from Kachuk or from when I did the preseason preview. I think September 24th. So from the time I did the preview for the season until yesterday's video, 400 videos, 157 live streams. So we got more coming. So I just wanted to take a second to thank everybody. It's just been an incredible year, and thanks to all of you who have been so generous with not just super chats, which, oh my God, some of the super chat nights have just been insane, everybody. But also I have the Monday through Friday members only podcast, which we'll talk about more at the end. But there's more than 100. I think it might be 125 people now. Memberships start at $3 a month. Because of all of you, I can focus on writing the book, and I can focus on content for you all this summer instead of what's been in the past. Is every day during the summer, half my brain wants to make a video, and the other half says I got to get some work done on eBay so I can eat. Well, I got the money set aside because of your generosity, so this summer I can make content. That took a while, but I'll take it. So this moves into the Panthers now. This was my 7th full season. And when I say full season, from beginning to end, I know that there have been years where I missed games and whatnot, but in terms of making content, it's my 7th season. And I've been looking around. You guys noticed in the last couple weeks, I've just been kind of looking around at what's here, because for me, all of it has a story, right? Kermit, it's funny because we found Kermit at an auction when I first moved into the house, and I brought him in here year 1. I don't even know why. I was just doing skits before the games, and I brought him in here, and then he just stayed. And it's funny because Sasha, the doll that we named after Barkov, that we found at an auction this year, and he sat there during the live streams and gave us a lot of luck. And all of these things, like people ask me, well, why do I have a Frozen box? Well, right here on their shoulder crest, you'll see 5 and 3. Ekblad and Yandel. That is from when Ekblad and Yandel would be doing the magic wand trick with the sticks when they were a pair. And so Magic Wands, Frozen, and Elsa, you get the point. There's my man cave sign that Karen sent me. Karen with an I on Twitter, Karen Lash. She sent that to me years ago. It was lost for years, and before this season, I found it. You don't think that's by accident why they did so good this year, okay? The bobblehead that Stu sent me. This bobblehead I think Chris Grega sent me. I'm pretty sure this puck here, Chris Gregg has sent me. I got a bunch of other things on the wall upstairs. We're going to have a lot of changes. This is not changing. I'll make some tweaks, but this is not changing. But for the live stream room and the upstairs room, I got a lot of changes because y'all sent me so much stuff. I got to get frames. I got to get it up. But I didn't want to change the mojo and the juju during the season. So, and there's actually still some boxes. I'm going to do a live stream next week with some of the stuff that I still haven't opened. Okay. I'm not crossing my arms because I'm pensive. I'm crossing my arms because I got a torn teres from pressing all year long, and it hurts like hell to just stand in a normal position. Speaking of hurting like hell, let's get into it now. Ekblad, shoulder surgery, will miss the beginning of training camp. We already know about Tkachuk. Now, Maurice said there's a few guys, those were his words, a few guys who won't be ready. And he also had mentioned Sam Bennett having trouble putting on his shirt. So I'm kind of concerned that one of those guys who won't be ready to start the season will be Sam Bennett, because Maurice did mention multiple shoulders. There's some other things going on, but so let's lay out how we got here, where we're going. Now, except for the part where I said we were going to win the cup in the preseason. Damn it. I still can't get that out without crying. Except for that part, nobody thought we'd be here, all right? Let's just go with that. No depth. And that's what killed us in the end, right? I mean, Vegas was better. Don't get me wrong. But broken down and bruised and battered and having to put Dalpe and Denisenko into the game, let's not even pretend like Game 5, like that was a fair fight at that point. We were done, and that's okay. That's okay. That's not taking anything away from Vegas. Vegas is better. They have better, bigger players, so they don't have to play as hard. And like the ending of their last 2 months was just, are they going to get the first seed or not? Where for us it was do or die every night. And that added up. And at the end of the year, we just didn't have enough gas left in the tank. Okay. So where do we go now? Well, we have a myriad of situations that are layered upon layered upon layered. You know, we kind of knew going into offseason, well, I won't say, after Maurice and Tkachuk, once we got that part done, we kind of knew it was like, okay, new coach, going to be a slow start. Let's see what Tkachuk is going to bring. But we knew that bottom six was going to be like, uh-oh, if anybody got hurt. And that was our biggest question last year, was looking at the roster. It's like, the top 9 looks really good, but if anybody gets hurt, you start to have a big, bad drop-off. And we saw that with Patrick Hornquist out. Okay? And then you saw what we looked like against Boston until Sam Bennett came back. All right? You've seen just the drop-off in this series with Reinhardt out. So we've got the guys, but behind it, with all due respect to the guys that were on the ice, there's nothing behind our top 9. There really isn't much. You've got the fact that we love Ryan Lomberg, and then a bunch of guys that were like, well, they didn't suck. You see what I'm saying? Stahl kind of disappeared in the playoffs, but he's an older fourth-line guy. This is not his style, okay? In terms of, I mean, he's a grinder now because by age, but Stahl's not going to be running around the ice like Barbashev, killing people. So we have money, and this is the biggest thing that Eddie Murphy once had a comedy skit where he was talking about, if you starving and somebody hands you a saltine, it's the best cracker you ever had. That's a Ritz right there. Okay? So when you're starving and somebody hands you a cracker, like, woohoo, we got crackers. Well, Panthers were starving for depth in cap space. We have some. But when you really look at the space that we have, the extensions that we need to dole out, what we have is a box of crackers. It's what we have, cap space. We have some crackers. We've got crackers, which is better than no crackers. But Number one, the crackers are a little bit stale because there's no draft picks. Okay, so it's going to be somebody else's. We have to trade our crackers for somebody else's other crackers, and we have to pay more crackers than we would normally have to pay because we don't have any fresh young crackers. You get the point. So, now we're not privy to this information. The key to all of this, you have to all the way come back. What is going on with Spencer Knight? Forget about Ekblad and all of these other things. Those are situations we do need to tend to. But what is going on with Spencer Knight? Because that's $4.5 million. He's in the assistance program. He disappears from sight, from everywhere. There hasn't been a whisper. And then he's at the Kentucky Derby in a suit and a hat. And it's just kind of like, well, they missed a step. Like, how about Spencer Knight is out of the assistance program and doing something? You guys got to be able to tell us something. So we don't know if, number one, we don't know if we need a backup goalie. We don't know how much money we can spend in terms of a third goalie. If we could, I'm sure we'd love to keep Lyon. But we can't pay Lyon what somebody else is going to pay him if we're paying Spencer Knight, because he's got starters money kicking in next year, and we don't know if the kid's going to be on the ice. So that starts a domino effect everywhere else. Because if Spencer Knight is somehow not going to be on this team, or if it's a mental health thing and he doesn't want to play, if we end up not taking his salary next year, you can probably give Lyon half of that, and that would give us extra money to play with. So the discussion about all these things starts there. Now, the only thing I can do is work under the assumption that he's going to play. So then you have to start looking at the spots that you want to fill in, and we're going to have a lot of content on this. You got to look at the spots you want to fill in. And you also have to look at if Ekblad's not ready, if somebody like Bennett's not ready. You have to have players that can step in and play those roles for however many months. So it's a mess. And it's funny. I said that if the Panthers won the Cup, I said I'd never try to predict another thing again. I may never try to predict another thing again anyway, because it wasn't about trying to predict it. I hate that word. It's just how I felt. I stood here in September. Don't start crying again, Jaws. I stood here and I said, they're going to start slow, but they're going to get better as they go, and they're going to win the Cup. It's just how I felt. And how I feel now is I still clearly cannot believe that didn't happen. So, where we are now is honestly more questions this off season than we had last year, from the sense of last year it was like, I don't know what's going to happen. We'll see. We're going to go out there. We didn't know what to expect from Maurice and all of that. And now because of this magical run, people want to know, well, how can we get back? When are we going to get back? And the reason why I brought up the predicting thing is because I was thinking about it this morning, that I think Paul Maurice already said exactly what I would say. I think Paul Maurice already said exactly what I would say, is that we're going to have a hard time making the playoffs next year. I mean, we had a hard time making the playoffs this year. But we're not going to have money, like let's say Ekblad, Bennett, pick somebody else. Duke. Let's say those are the three guys that need some work and they're going to be out the first 2 months of the season. Well, we don't have money to go replace those guys with guys that are of that caliber. So not only do we need to rebuild lines 4 and line 5, but we also need to do it with guys that can play on line 3, because guys from line 3 are going to be playing on lines 1 and 2, because probably going to be missing a couple of people. You see what I'm saying? So we're going to have to fill those voids temporarily with players from, I mean, you figure Lundell, Luosterainen, right? If Bennett and Duclair are not on the ice in the top 6 next year to start the season, if those are the guys, Lundell, Luosterainen, those are the guys that would move up, which means now whoever you get in the offseason needs to be a viable 3C. You see how it, so it all curtails. It all just tumbles upon itself. We'll know a lot more in the coming week, right? I look now, there's scant information. There's a few things out there. As we find out which guys are not going to be ready, you know, like Ekblad said he won't be ready for the start of training camp. That doesn't mean he's going to be there a week after training camp starts. It probably means what Maurice says is he's got some guys that are going to need 5 or 6 months off, 4 or 5, 6 months off. So we are going to be stuck in this. To be honest with you, this is going to sound crazy. This is going to sound crazy like most of the things that I say. Oh, I'm going to say it. If you want this group of guys to win a cup, if you want Barkov and Tkachuk and Bennett and Verhaeghe and Lundell, if you want those guys to win a cup, the honest truth of it is we need to not make the playoffs next year. Get these guys a full summer of real rest, rehab, getting stronger, while at the same time, somewhere along the way, whether it be Spencer Knight or somebody else, we need another goalie that's, number one, capable of spelling Bob when we need him, and number two, capable of being the guy if something happens to Bob, because he's going to be 35, then the following year he's going to be 36. And you're starting to get into a dicey territory there when you're starting your cup hopes with a guy that's 36 years old. And why I say it would be better for us to not make the playoffs is because otherwise we're going to be stuck in this. Well, right now we are stuck in a cycle because we're going to be missing guys at the start of the season, so we're going to start slow. Then, to make the playoffs, we're going to have to play at this crazy pace like we did this year. And then if we do start having success in the playoffs, eventually the crazy pace that we had to play the second half of the season wears you out, rinse and repeat. You see what I'm saying? It might be easier on our hearts and our bodies and our minds if they just had a down year next year and come back really locked and reloaded the year after. Now, I know that's not something any of you want to hear, but it's just the physical reality of things. You know, Tampa was able to do what they did, but Tampa bigger, defensively bigger, okay? And they had, they were better. I don't know how much better they are now, but they were better. They were just better. And when it's great to be the little team that could, the '96 Panthers, this year's Panthers. It's great to be the underdog that can look at what we did with all this amazing effort and faith and belief. That's freaking great. But the flip side to that is the last 2-3 months of the season, while the other teams can take a night off here, can take a night off here, they don't have to kill themselves, right? So physically they've got more in the tank. The difference is us, the little engine that could, we have to kill ourselves, right? If it's March 1st and Boston gets down 2-0 in a game. I'm not saying they don't care, but they don't have to physically kill themselves to desperately try to get to overtime to get a point or maybe 2, right? Because they got a cushion. But for us, we're losing a game 2-0. March, we've got to at least get a point out of this. Oh my God, everybody's on our ass, right? So we have to expend all that extra energy in just that one game. And over the course of a season, it adds up. It adds up. And so we're going to start off next year almost in that same position unless, and we do have the wild card, which is Bill Zito. And if anybody can turn a box of saltine crackers into 2 boxes of peanut butter Ritz, it's Bill Zito. So for right now, looking at the team, I'm going, Jesus, he has a broken sternum. I mean, I'm looking at our guys now and going, okay, how about you all just take next year off? Appreciate the memories, but geez, because I don't want them to get into a cycle of not being able to finish it physically, because that's the style we play. Now, it will help if we get a real fourth line, all due respect to the guys that we have. If we get a fourth line that really is, a fourth and a fifth line that really is capable of playing the way that Maurice wants them to play, and again, we've set ourselves up on defense. Fitzgerald, Carlson, Kirsten, nice players, might develop into being, I think Lucas Carlson, in my opinion, can definitely develop to be another Gustav Forsling. Kirsten looks pretty good. Mahura looks pretty good. But these are not big, bad guys. They're not huge guys. They're all the same kind of mold, which is fine. Puck moving, two-way defenseman, and that's great. But you've got to have some kind of balance. We don't have enough balance. Forsling is not going to be physical. Montour is not going to be physical. Mahura is not going to be physical. Ekblad is not going to be physical. That's the 4 guys. We got one guy, Gudis, who'll hit you. That's it. And not just about the hitting, but it's about what Vegas did to us in this series is we would go to forecheck, and their defensemen were too big and too strong for our forwards. So, I texted Lucas, Rats on the Ice, the original video guy. I got to make sure every year I give him thanks, because if he didn't do it all those years, I don't exist here either. I texted him. I said, "Are you still sick?" Not that he was ever sick. Basically, I asked him, "Where are you at?" And he says he's at the point where this was the greatest Florida Panther season ever. And it's funny because my buddy Nick texted me. He's like, "Hey, at least we get to raise the Eastern Conference Finals banner. Now there's only one that's missing." And I didn't have the heart to text you, Nick, that we already had one of those. I didn't want to make him feel bad because everybody's trying to cope in their own way. Me, I just keep trying to go read the comments on the last 2 videos and I just start crying and have to close up the laptop. I'll get to them eventually. Maybe today, maybe this afternoon I'll be able to do it. So, unbelievably, let's look at the good stuff. We know we're not going to have a coaching change, although I don't know about power play coach. I mean, somehow, someway, we have to figure out why the same group of guys keep failing in the same spectacular fashion, regardless of the coaching. I mean, we've got to fix the power play. We roll it off. It's like, oh, well, Tampa's got a great power play. Vegas got a... But you got to have at least an average power play. Like, we were, over 15, 16? Like, how about 3 for 16? You know how different this series could have been if at any point in game 1, 2, and 3, we got a power play goal? Even half of the success that Vegas had. So, I wouldn't mind if we had a change there. Okay? Most of the guys are going to be back. I would suspect we're going to see 2 new defensemen and maybe as many as 4 new forwards in terms of the starting lineup. Now, sure, depth-wise, we'll probably end up with more than 4. But I got to figure next year's starting lineup is not going to include Stahl, Cousins, White, and that's probably it. It's probably it. But look, people are going to think I'm picking on Sam Reinhardt. Sam Reinhardt and Bill Zito are going to have a conversation. Okay, and I talked about this in the podcast a little bit. They're going to have a conversation because we know we're not going to be able to pay him more than he's making right now. So they got to sit down and be like, Sam, you want to stay? Let's give you an extension, and you're going to have to take a pay cut if you want to stay. Otherwise, we might have to start looking at what can we get in return for him. That's a lot of money, and I love that guy, but he's making 6.5 now. When it comes, if he wants more money than that, or even basically the same amount of money, that's going to cost us somebody else. That's going to cost us somebody else. So, if Sam Reinhardt wants to stay, I think he's going to need to take a pay cut. Otherwise, I think if there's one piece from our core guys that I think would have the possibility of being moved, it's him. And again, it's not because I want to, it's just sheer numbers. Forsling, Montour, Lundell, Reinhardt. I mean, guys need extensions. Even the guys that are, got an extra year. Okay, you got to start looking ahead at how much money is Carter Verhaeghe going to want. Okay, 40. You see what I'm saying? The dude's going to want to get paid. Somebody, either guys are going to have to take a lot less money than they would normally get on the open market, or somebody's going to have to go because we pay Bob $10 million. So we'll see how that shakes out. All right, now in terms of this channel and this summer, again, I can't thank you all enough. The generosity was just, when I started this season, and I started the live streams, my plan at the beginning, we got to go back to the beginning of last year, okay, the beginning of 21-22. My plan then was, I had just gotten out of bankruptcy, and the channel was monetized. And my plan then was, I had enough credit on my credit cards to put about $500 a month, and I needed it, on my bills, on the credit cards. So I could just bet on myself and make content full time. Okay. So that was last year. When I got to about a week before the season started this year, I looked at my money, looked at the credit cards, and looked at what I was making on YouTube, and I realized that I either had to stream and cross my fingers with how it would go, or I needed to go get a job. It was at that point. I wasn't going to have very much more credit left, So I went to Kyle. I said, these are the choices. We can stream every game and hope we can make $20 a night, or one of us got to go get a job, because that's it. And so we started streaming. And I never, when I say, well, I hope we can make $20 a night, I mean, I was doing the math. I was figuring, well, if I can make $20 a night, we could eat. We could eat, and I could stop having to put stuff on the credit cards. Well, we made a lot more than $20 a night. And I can't thank you all enough for that. So, moving forward, the podcast is members only or Patreon support only. Links are in the description. It's $3 a month. It's Monday through Friday. Now, I'm doing one today. I'm taking Friday off. So I'm taking Friday, Saturday, Sunday off. Next week, the podcast is going to look a little bit different. I'm going to start having some guests here or there. It's also going to be longer. Right now, it's about 45 minutes to an hour. It's going to be at least a half hour longer. Because what I'm going to, the format's basically going to be, I'll have a 5 or 10 minute segment where I'm just talking intro. Then I'm going to go to football, because we covered Dolphins stuff. And then we'll talk about the Panthers and hockey and the back end. So I'll have timestamps so that if you don't want to hear about the football, you just listen to the intro. I'll give you the timestamp for the intro, the football, and the hockey. So, because I want to add in the football, but I don't want to take away from the hockey. So you're not getting any, it will not be less hockey content. It's just football added in. So that's going to change. That's going to be starting on Monday. We're going to be doing that. So that's one way you can support the channel. The other thing I want to mention, links are in the description. I got to thank you all again. I mean, you guys bought a ton of stuff out of my eBay store. I'm almost sold out. I still have some flags left. There's still a few shirts left. But you guys absolutely went crazy buying banners and flags, and you paid my house payment this month with just Panther stuff on eBay. So that was just incredible. So those links are in the description. Now, also July. Again, this is only because the generosity you guys have given me. I've got enough money set aside for the summer. So July, I'm going to write a book. And you might, let's just put it this way. It's a book about me. It's a book about life. It's a book about hockey. But it's about none of those things and all of those things at the same time. I know how the beginning, I know how it starts, and I think I know how it ends at this point. But, so that's what I'm doing in July. My birthday is August 22nd. I had to look up, like I had to think about that, right? Birthday's August 22nd. The hope is the book is out for my birthday, so you can buy my book for my birthday. You get the point. You get how that works. Now, in terms of the content over the summer, couple of things. Number one, if a couple of days goes by and you want to keep up on this channel, but you don't see me in your recommended, check the actual channel page, because I already know what's going to happen, and it happens all the time. Because there's a lot of people that were watching at the end of the year because the Panthers in the playoffs. Now I'm going to be doing, there'll be less views. I'll be starting some football, so even that's less views. So what will happen is people that were only watching for the playoffs will get the notification. They don't want to watch it. That's fine. But then YouTube will stop showing my videos to people. So over the course of the summer, if you want to check up on what I've been posting, don't depend on YouTube to show it to you in the recommended. Come to the channel page, because otherwise you might think, I haven't seen Jaws put anything out for a week, and I've been putting out 2 things a day. YouTube's just not showing it to you. So that's number one. The second thing is obviously we're going to be moving into a football-centric type of thing here. Again, not going to be taking away from the hockey content. Still going to basically have daily Panther stuff out. Obviously, it's just like right on us, right? Between free agency and the draft and all of that. There's not really going to be a whole lot of downtime. It's just going to be a little bit different. Now, if you want to keep up on the schedule for the streams, we are still probably going to stream, I know, at least once a week. I'd like to maybe make that more like twice, maybe even 3 times a week. We're going to have different, obviously there's no games. We're going to have drunken baseball. There might be some other fun thing. As summer really gets hot, who knows what we might do on any given afternoon. So if you want to keep up on that schedule, check the community posts on the channel. I do a lot of my communicating with y'all through those posts. It's a lot easier to do it that way. Now, I made a post about this yesterday, so I don't want to belabor it, but I've got some new series coming up next year with the hockey. Stu and I are still doing the same thing, but I'm adding in something with Nick. I don't know if it's going to be an every game thing or a couple times a week. I'm not sure how that's going to go. In terms of the football coverage is going to get the same coverage as the hockey. So there will be a live stream for whatever game we're covering for the Dolphins, and we're going to cover other NFL games. There'll be a recap for that game, and then there will be a review in the morning. I'm trying to talk Kyle into being the review host, but I don't think it's going to work out, because I don't think he's going to be able to get up early enough in the morning for him to help me with that. So that's a work in progress. I don't want to push him too much because he still does the eBay listings. So that is coming. And then there's a few things under the hood, under construction, that are definitely going to be new for next year. Now one thing I will bring up, because I stopped writing the articles. I wrote the articles all throughout the regular season, and then I missed a couple, and I realized that every time I was not writing the article, we were winning. So I stopped writing the articles. It was a lot. It was one thing that did fall off. Now normally that's for the members, the Patreon supporters, and all of that. But I feel like with the podcast, you guys are covered. So I know last year I tried to put together a team that was going to write for the website and all of that. That failed. But the website is still there. So I'm going to come at it again from a different angle during this summer. And if and when all that stuff comes back, it's not going to be part of the members package. It'll be on the website. because I went through a lot to create the website and to get it monetized. I went through a lot to get that monetized, so I don't want that just sitting there useless. So when you see me start to post articles again, that's going to be to the Flying Fluffy website. I got to revamp it, retool it, and come at that from a different direction. And then other than that, at some point during free agency, I'll come on and I will speak again. Who do we want this year? Last year I spoke Kachuk into existence. Who do you want me to tell Bill Zito to get this year? All right, I've yapped long enough. I still got to do the podcast. Just, yeah. My brain knows, but I can't get the words out. And the words are, I know it was a great year. I know. But I'm going to start crying again. Jesus. I'll get there. You know, it wasn't an act. That's the last thing I can say. It wasn't an act. When I'm in here, and it's 2-0 after the first period the other night, there was no doubt. We're going to come back, win that game, win the cup. It wasn't an act. It's just... That's part of the book. That's part of the book. I can't even process it right now. And that's I'm going to process it while writing the book. So who the hell knows what's going to be in. It's not going to be a short little thin paperback either. It's going to be hardcover only. It's going to be sizable. All right, so this concludes year 7. Year 7. One day, I don't know when, but someday in the future, hopefully not the near future, one day I will have to eventually pack all this up and move it and try to recreate it somewhere else. Don't know when that day will be, but I can still sit here and see the bunny out my window. I wore the red jersey today. You guys probably wonder, I haven't seen you wear that red jersey. We lose every time I wear it. I thought about bringing it out for emergencies, but it's like my Zach Thomas jersey for the Dolphins. Every time I've worn it, we lose. And every year, I pick a game and say, okay, this is the game I'm going to undo the luck for the Zach Thomas jersey, and we lose. And I've tried that with this jersey, and it was at some point this year, I said, that's it. I'm not wearing that thing no more. But today we can wear it, because we already lost. We won a lot. Damn it. All right, so that's it for year 7. And I'm just... Now all my files, instead of 22-23 Panthers, they're going to have to start saying 23-24 Panthers. Damn it. This video should have been a pump-up video for Game 6. Appreciate all the support. And look for some live streams to start probably late next week. I still need a little bit of extra time, obviously. But we're going to have some fun. It'll be a lot of fun this summer, I promise. All right. I'll see you again later.